So this chair is one of 8 that came in a dining room set that I was given from a friend of a friend. They were moving out and didn't want the dining room set anymore, so I took it. It was built in the 80s in Germany. It was their parents, and they've just had it in the family for years and outgrew it. I decided I didn't like the color. Reminds me too much of the 80s, and so I wanted to sand it down and refinish it. This project, I think, ultimately is going to take me forever, but each chair so far is taking me about maybe 5 to 6 hours just to do the initial sanding. It takes a lot longer than I would have expected. I'm taping the hose onto the sander here at this point because it kept falling off. Initially I was trying to figure out what grit to use. Ultimately I set it on an 80 grit. I'm going to have to go back over it again with 100 and 120, getting it finer and finer, but I really needed the higher or the lower grit sandpaper just to get some of this material off because it's pretty tough. As you can see, running through this at 10x speed, even with the detail sander, it's kind of taken quite a, more than one pass to get this stuff off. So I'm using this camera, and this is the first YouTube video I've ever made, so you can see, probably need some work here. I tried mounting the camera to the actual chair itself, but it was a little too vibraty, so I had to make an adjustment here, but it's hard to get into some of these cracks while being camera conscious and not blocking the view. So this is probably some of the worst camera angling in the video. Also, you can tell the lighting isn't super great. I'm doing this project in my garage, and I only have access to one giant ring light, and then the garage light is not really functioning right now, so lighting is limited. This is actually the third chair I've sanded down. The first two I was learning quite a bit, so I ended up deciding that the more I could do with the detail sander the better, even if it doesn't make the most sense. It just takes so long to sand this down by hand that I really wanted to do even the spindles between the legs as much as possible. Thankfully the sander doesn't seem to be flattening out the spindles at all, so it kind of nicely cuts down the color without flattening out the rounded surfaces. I'm still undecided on these little knobs on the top of the chair. One of the chairs was broken. I think you'll see later in this video, but I think one of these actually breaks as well. It really was broken before I even started the project, but I just went ahead and pulled it off. And I don't really like them. I think maybe a modified version of that will suffice, but the way they are currently, I'm not a huge fan. Even in a simple video, I think this is day 3. I spend probably 2 hours a day on this. It's taking, I think at this point in the project, we're like hour 4 or 5. I can only work for so long because it's in the garage. It gets a little hot in there, so after a few hours of that, that's all I can take. And then the camera battery starts getting low anyway, so I typically will only do about 2 hours per session, and then I give it a break. The part here at the top on the inside of the chair, I don't think I'm ever going to sand down. You can never really see it once the chair is put together, and it's not really a finished surface, so I don't think I'm even going to waste my time on that. I really wish I had a better method for this. I just use a sponge. It's a sanding sponge, but I don't actually use the sandpaper on the sponge. I actually wrap my own paper sandpaper around the sponge. But the give from the sponge actually allows me to press that paper into those cracks, and it gives it a nice, firm, and smooth distribution, so I can kind of sand those cracks and corners around really well. It also works really well around on the curves. That little ring around where the bump kind of appears there on the spindle, like the stick, or the pole kind of goes and then it like widens out and it goes back into the leg there. That little ring around that spot there, I'm not really able to get that any better than that. I've sanded extensively in that particular area and I cannot get that. It's almost, I don't understand. It's permanently colored. I've tried so many ways to get that down and it just doesn't get any better. I think this is probably my favorite part of the entire project. As silly as it is, but like getting that little bit right between the leg and the... I'm calling it a spindle, I don't really know what that's called. Trying to work while keeping the camera angle out of the lighting and keeping all of my body parts out of the way of the camera lens has always been really difficult. So it's interesting to watch this back for the first time myself and see how this looks. So again, this probably isn't the best tool for the job, but it works, and it doesn't leave any flat spots, so I'm just doing the best I can here with this. I don't really like these anyway, like I was saying earlier. I really kind of think I might just cut them right above the sphere, so that it's just a ball. And the rest of that knob, maybe just kind of remove it. I'm not really sure how I want to handle this yet, but for now I'm going to sand them down so that I have the option. I don't want not wanting to sand these down to be part of my decision. I want to make the decision independent of the effort that it's going to take to clean this up, so... And this is probably one of the more annoying parts. These are really frustrating because it seems like no matter how much I try to sand down, inside the curves in the valleys there, it just always stays a little dark. It's like nothing I can do cleans that up enough. It's not enough to make me happy, so I don't know why. My thought is if I refinish the chairs and put a different stain on it, then maybe it will sort of add character and go away. It won't be as noticeable, but... That's true pretty much any of these grooves, especially around the legs. You can see how wobbly this one is. It took about half a pound of pressure of upward force to pull that off. It was already pretty well disconnected. And in the set of 8 chairs, there's already another chair that's completely missing one of them as well. So it's just more fuel for the reason why I might just remove all of them, because I just don't like them. And feel free to disagree in the comments. I'm not sure if maybe it's a stylized thing that most people prefer, but it's just not for me. So here it is again before any of these changes. And I believe this is European oak. I believe that because the family that gave it to me told me that the table was originally made in Germany. I am not a wood expert, so if one of you happens to recognize which type of wood this is, by all means let me know. I know it's not perfect yet, but I am going to have to go over the chair again several times with higher grits, and so I'll pay extra attention to some of these problem areas and get that done. I'm not sure yet what color I'm going to stain it, if I stain it any color. If you have any suggestions, let me know. I was thinking something dark, maybe a reddish color, but I'm not really sure how well those stains would work on a European oak. And this is just one of 8 chairs, and I have a dining room set as well that I'll be working on, so I plan on posting more videos. Thanks for watching.